Hi everyone, Danielle here. I'm doing a solo playthrough of Lawyer Up. It will be a partial playthrough, but it should give you enough information to know whether or not this game is for you. This game is a 1 to 2 player game, and I've got it set up for a solo game. I have the buried cards here, if you're familiar with the setup. I have the jurors here. The top will have their bias closer to the prosecution, and then the bottom row will have the jurors that have bias closer to the defense. As part of this setup for case 00, Art of the Crime, I do have the non-biased judge here on the prosecution side. I have all the witnesses laid out as defined by the opening statements strategy for short game card. So it tells you the key witnesses for defense and for prosecution. I have the trackers for influence here, color-coded, red for prosecution, blue for defense. We do have some tokens here. We'll be able to object 3 times to something the AI will attempt to play. They will also be able to object as well. And we also have sidebar tokens that can be used each round. Keep in mind that these tokens for the objection can only be used up to 3 times per game, so it's not per round. I've already gone through discovery, so you know I just pointed out the buried deck. I have the prosecution deck and the defense deck already shuffled and ready to go. So as part of the phases, the discovery is complete. And what I did for that, basically draw 3 cards and draft 1 for defense, 1 for prosecution, and bury 1. We're on to the trial. So that's really the meat, I would say, of where this game begins. So trial, questioning phase, and then, resolving it. You can see here we have 2 dice. We have a red and a blue die. They will be controlling the AI's actions. And I guess we'll get started. I will, as a prosecution, go first, and I will decide to call Dr. Lot Van Houten. And I will zoom into this a little bit. So Dr. Lot Van Houten has some icons on the left and on the right. And depending on how you want to play this card, these symbols have to be met by the card that you're playing. So one of these has to match a card that you play. You'll notice the P4. If that matches the side that you're on, you will gain the influence on your influence tracker. Your goal is to have the highest amount of influence during the game. So in my hand of 5 cards that you draw from the top of your deck, I have some cards, and you'll see some similar icons. So we'll have the P4 in my deck, and you'll see some N's, which is neutral, but let's go through that later. So these P's will also add influence to my influence tracker. But also, as I mentioned, there are symbols here, and these are your biases symbols. So if you play a card, it has to match the bias symbol of the witness if it's the first card being placed into the examination area. So I'll go ahead and play... I'll play Media Circus. So this one does have a matching... oh no, it doesn't. I was looking at this thumbs up. I thought it did match. So I can't play Media Circus just yet. What I could do is play Driving Home the Point as an argument. And this would be played into examination as well. And it does match the bias here. So I can play it with no problem. Something to note, actually, I forgot to point out, there is more detail on the bottom of this card. So this expert witness is could sway 1 bias. So when I call the witness, I get to do the called action. So sway 1 bias means I could sway one of these biases up here. And basically when I sway a bias, I have to spend influence points usually to the amount of this box here. So it's in my best interest when I get a free sway of a bias to do one that costs the most. And I think in this case I'm going to do it here because it would cost me 6 influence to do that. And now I will play Driving Home the Point. So this card has a 3 influence. So at this point I should have 4 already tracked, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll play this card, Driving Home the Point. It'll give me 3 more, so I'm at 7. And then it does have a victory action here, +2 influence for each card in your examination, but that actually only counts or only happens if you win over the witness, and this is the top card. And you'll see that you're going to be placing cards on top of these played cards in the examination area throughout your turn. So after I do this, I make sure I've done everything I can. I increase my influence. I checked the effects of the card, make sure I didn't miss anything. I have 4 cards left in my hand. The AI would do something similar. They'll flip the top card and always put it here. If it matches their side, which is defense, it will gain the influence. So it does gain 2, so that's at 2. And then with that, I roll 2 dice. And they each have matching cards. So the 4 specifically has some biases attached to each value. So for the 4, it has that thumbs up symbol. If this card had a thumbs up symbol up here, I would have had to add +2 value for each thumbs up card currently in the Automa's examination. So nothing happens over there. For this blue die, you would do +3 influence. Automa spends influence to sway jurors with the lowest skepticism first. Oh wait, those are victory effects. I have to look at the rest conditions. So rest conditions, it is double-sided. I would end up looking at the 3, and it says the Automa has at least 14 total influence in the judge's favor. That means if this condition was met, the Automa would pass for the round. So at this point, the Automa only has 2 influence, so nothing happens. And that's it. That's that turn. Alright, so looking at this card, now I have to match this icon. So when I match this icon, I have to make sure that the cards I play have that icon on it. So I can't play Media Circus because it doesn't have that icon. But we have these 3 other cards, and I think I'm not going to want to do no further questions because it will force me to pass. Basically, I'm examining right now, so if I were to play this card that says gain the judge's favor, then immediately take the pass action. I don't want to do that. Once you take the pass action, you're passing for the round, and likely my influence won't be high enough to win over the witness. So I think I'll be saving that. I do have 2 procedure cards. Procedure cards go into a different area of your play area. So we have the examination happening up here. I'll move it up just a little bit. And then down here, I'll play the procedure for my side. I think I'll go ahead and... So neither of these have actions I really care to do. So I'm not sure I'm going to play any of them. So I'm just going to put it into here so that it allows me to have access to more of these icons on a later turn. So I think that's what I'll do for now. So what I did was I could have played into my procedure, but instead I'm going to place it into examination. This way it does open up some more of those biases. Alright, the AI played a P4 card, so it does not increase anything on its influence. We roll the dice. We have a 3 and a 3. And once again, we have to check this. So if the card has a heart, it does not, so it doesn't do anything. And in the rest condition, the Automa has at least 14 total influence, and that still is not the case. I think at this point I will play Media Circus since I definitely have access to those biases. That will give me +4 influence, so that takes me to 11. And then with that, it says examine, reveal your hand, keep it revealed until you pass. When you play solo, that doesn't really do anything. We'll play this. This is N5. Neutral does mean it does increase either side's influence. So now it's up to 7. And let's see. That is a painting, which is pretty neat. So if you're kind of into like the whole theme, you would probably want to read a lot of the flavor text. I'm kind of just coming at this more from a gameplay standpoint. I'll go ahead and roll the dice for the Automa. We have a number 4 and a 1. So with the number 4, it says if it has a thumbs up, it would do something. It does not. It only has this, I think, intellect icon. And then we have a number 1. The player only has 1 card in their hand and their sidebar is exhausted. So it does not just have, I don't just have 1 card in my hand and my sidebar is not exhausted, so it doesn't rest. Something to note is when I play a card and I were to gain at least 5 or more influence, the Automa would be able to object. It can object 3 times using the tokens. So objections mean basically the card does not get played. Let's see. So the card doesn't get played, but you actually still get to go again. So you get to play a different card, I guess. I'm going to... Because at this point it doesn't matter, because this doesn't really help me, I don't think. So I'm going to play no further... Ooh, I can't play no further questions. None of these symbols match. Okay, so I have to play co-counsel as a examination card. It doesn't do anything, so that's it. It just opens up my ability to play this card, hopefully on the next turn. Alright, so D0 doesn't gain any influence. Let's roll the dice. It's a 5 and a 1. So the 5, it does have this symbol that matches the 5. Plus 3 value, so it's going to be 10. And then, if this card is in evidence, the Automa gains the judge's favor. So it's a procedure, not in evidence. It would say evidence underneath it, but this is a procedure. That's the keyword that it's referring to, although the name says new evidence, which is pretty funny. But anyway, so that doesn't happen. Number 1 says the player only has 1 card in their hand and their sidebar is exhausted. The sidebar is not exhausted, so I don't think it rests. And how the sidebar works, basically you get to draw a card and gain the judge's favor. So I can do that on my next turn. So I am going to do that. I'll place that here so that it signifies I used it, and I'll draw a card. And I got this evidence card. I will play it, and I'll go ahead and gain that 2 victory influence. So I'm at 13 influence. And it says victory sway 1 or one of these. Okay, so nothing right now. Go ahead and play this. D2, so it's at 12. We'll roll the dice. 5 and a 6. So the 5 is if it has the symbol, it doesn't. And the 6 says the Automa has 6 plus cards in its examination and is not losing by more than 15. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it won't rest just yet. I only have 1 card in hand. I already used my sidebar, so I can't do much with that. So I will play this. It does match the icon of the Warsaw Incident Report card. So I get +4 for this card and my influence, so I have 17. And it says gain the judge's favor to immediately take the pass action. So I already have the judge's favor. I don't need to flip it. But I do pass immediately. So I can't do anything else, and not that I did. So it was planned perfectly that I was able to fulfill the end of this round for myself. We'll flip over this 6th card. D0 means it does not increase any influence. Go ahead and roll the dice. It's a 6 and a 1. So that means 6, discard the top card of the player's examination or +5 value. Oh. So that's tough. When you discard anybody's examination, you actually lose the influence. So I'm gonna lose the influence, I think. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now put it in my discard pile. And it's gonna be 4. So I'm at 13 now. And then it says it will rest. Okay, so at the end of each Automa's turn, check the condition based. If it has, the Automa passes for the round. Okay, so it will pass, and now I compare our dials, and of course we're just one off, but I do win the witness, so that's perfect. So let's see, resolving. The loser gains judge's favor and refreshes their sidebar. Alright, so it does flip over, and I don't think, yeah, so it says witness, player with the most influence claims the current witness and spends influence to sway jury. So the influence spent is the difference between the two, so I get to spend 1 influence. So with that, I only can spend just 1. So I'll spend it here to move over this juror's bias to the prosecution side. After that, we clean up, discard the examination cards from my hand that I want, then draw back up to 5. I had an empty hand, so I draw back to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I add this witness into my area. I'll put it underneath my score. Let me just make sure. It doesn't really mention if I flip over mine, but let's see. So resolve victory, defeat effects. Oh, victory, sway 1 or 1 heart or 1 of those. I'll do that one here. So I got to do my victory card effect because I did win over the witness, so that's pretty neat. And I did already spend my influence to sway the bias. Players take all cards in their examination to discard them to their personal discard piles. Okay, so these are all discarded. This is discarded into this pile. And then it says, witness claims a card, places them in their claimed witness area. Done that. The player who lost a witness gains the judge's favor and refreshes their sidebar. Both players then reset their influence to 0. So I guess my sidebar doesn't get refreshed. So I'll just keep that face down. Okay. So these get set back to 0. And then we'll just do another round. So the defense gets to call the witness, and to call the witness, we have to do the Automa decision here. The Automa calls witnesses in this order. Highest primary value for the Automa roll. Not really sure what that means. Highest. Okay, so Automa is defense, so it's gonna go for Henry. So we're gonna call Henry Antonius, and so I think in this case it will go ahead and play his first card. Alright, so it actually gains 4 because it sits with own witness. And then it's got a D0 here, so it doesn't do much. But we'll roll the dice. We have 3 and 3. This one doesn't have a heart, so we'll skip the questioning step. Rest conditions. The Automa has at least 14 total influence in the judge's favor. Nope, so that doesn't go. Let's see what I have in my hand. Alright, so I have this P5. And so if I were to play this, I think the defense could object. And I'll confirm that by looking here in the rules. So it says, oh, is it on this card maybe? The Automa will object to any argument that generates 5+ influence while it can. Okay, so this argument would be objected, which is not good. But what can we play in the first place? We could play this impassioned plea because it has to match the icons no matter what. Can't play the legal argument. It can play moral or argument. And that's it. It can only play these 2 cards. So I think in that case, I'll play the impassioned plea and gain 3 influence. And that's it. This is 0 influence. And then we'll roll. The 2 and a 4. It says +5 if at least 1 bias icon on a card. It does match. Okay. Matches the previous. Ooh. Wow. So it's going to be 9 now. 9 influence. And the Automa doesn't have 4+ cards, so we're fine. So this is going to be a tough one. I might need to end this round early for myself. The next thing I can play is nothing. Because unfortunately, I don't have any cards that match that icon. So the icon I need to match is this heart. And none of my cards have it. I don't know what my options here are. I could just object to a bunch of their cards at least 3 times. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. Swing cards. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like this was just a bad hand for me. I don't really think there's much for me to do. I just might lose this witness. Yeah, and my sidebar wasn't refreshed, so I'm gonna have to just call it and say I pass. The AI will continue going. It's N5, so that's gonna be 14. That's crazy. It's gonna roll. It says add the top card of the buried evidence to the Automa examination. Ooh. It's gonna be D2, so it's at 16. Oh, I shouldn't even have done that. Okay, never mind. At 14 because it didn't match. I automatically did it, but this icon didn't match the same tracks of this card. 5, it says the Automa has 5+ cards in examination and it's not losing. Nope. So it's just gonna keep going. N2, so it's gonna be 16. Roll dice again. I have a 4 and a 4. This time there's a thumbs up +2 for each thumbs up currently in the Automa, so that's 2, so it's at 18. They're gonna have a lot of influence. The 4 says the Automa has 4+ in this examination. The top card has a victory condition. That's not the case. Keep going. Roll. And it has every icon this time, so everything's gonna go. +5 if at least one bias icon on the card matches the previous card. It does, of course. So that's gonna be 23. Oh my goodness. I'm being like extremely pummeled by this one. Hopefully this is right. And then 2, the player has 2 or less cards in their hand. Nope. Wow. Alright, another 2 points under influence track, so it's at 25. Rolling the dice. You know what? I could be objecting right now. So maybe I don't let that fly. It's at 23. I will object once. He'll play the next card. I'll object this one twice. Play the next card. I'll definitely object this one. And so yeah, that's what we have for that. And it's gonna play another card. Oh no, a D5. That means it's 28. That was not great at all, guys. So 5. It matches the icon, so it's +3. So that's gonna be, oh my goodness, this is insane. So it's gonna be 31. That's crazy. It says if this card is in evidence, the Automa gains the judge's favor. It has the judge's favor, but it's also an argument, so it doesn't count. And it says the player only has 1 card in their hand and their sidebar is exhausted. Nope, that's not the case. Finally, a D0. We roll. It's a 6 and a 3. So the 6 says the skull. Discard the top card of the player's examination. Ugh. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I lose 3, so I'm at 0 influence. Well, I think I'm gonna end my playthrough here and kind of just go into a bit of a review. I played this a few times already, and for what it is, it's a very simple game to play. I think sometimes the rule books can make it seem more than it is, but I have found that it really is just like a long game of war in the end. You're basically trying to play cards that have high values that you can increase your influence on. I think there's some complexity here with the jurors trying to win over their bias, spending your money more, or spending your influence efficiently, calling the right witnesses, having the right cards in your hand. It's a lot of that, and I like it for what it is. It's not a heavy game, but I don't know about the theme for me. The theme is not one that highly interests me. I would love it if they incorporated these mechanics in something entirely different, but I'm not sure if that would even do it for me, because this might just be a little bit too simple. Obviously this was just the art of the crime, so this is case 00. So this is as simple as it gets. There are other cases that have more complexity, so I would be open to trying those, but I do think there's probably more of an emphasis on 2-player games versus solo. I think it's kind of I think they did the best they could with this solo mode, and as I understand, the season 2 solo mode is much better. So I'd be interested to give that a try, learn more about it. But yeah, I don't think I'd be playing this solo very much. I think there's definitely potential for it to be a head-to-head game with somebody. And I'm looking forward to trying that out, and maybe I will do a quick little update review video on this once I get that played, probably with my husband, so we'll see. But yeah, regardless of how I felt playing this solo, as you can see, it just felt a little bit one-sided. I'm pretty sure I'm playing by the rules correctly. At this point I would have had 0 cards on my what do they call it, examination area, and they had all of this, and it was just working in their favor, so it's very unbalanced. I don't know if I could have ever caught up in terms of getting all of the jurors on my side, because they would have had to spend about 31 influence. They would have gotten to spend all that. So yeah, I mean, I think there's potential, and I'm definitely excited to see season 2 and what that has to offer. I'd be interested to know if you've played it before and if it's worth getting the season 2. I would like to know that. I was provided this game by a publisher, so I'm lucky that I was able to get this and create some content around it, and also get to play it 2 players at some point. Alright, well, I think I'll end that video here. Let me know your thoughts. I do like the mechanics in here. I really do. But the solo mode wasn't doing it for me here. Alright, I think I've said all I needed to say. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.